Sacco. Again, let me start off by thanking the board management and all of you for according me this opportunity to proceed on with empowering you with the right knowledge in terms of us looking forward to attaining financial freedom. So let me start off by just mentioning about this past Saturday. I was privileged to speak to your top savers, and I took them through sort of a 3-hour session, trying just to condense much of what I'm teaching you here. And the feedback was very overwhelming. I remember one of you actually pulled me on the side and you said, I'm now ready to take off. That was just a mind-blowing statement on that day. So what I'd like to tell you is this. Don't wait until the last session for you to start actualizing what you're learning. They say that learning is an ongoing process. And for me, I plead with you, every single day we finish up, anything that you have learned that you feel is of value, don't wait until the last day. The moment you get something that you find to be of value with you, please, please, please run with it. It is through that running and the repetition of learning and implementing, learning, implementing, learning, okay? So learning in terms of the knowledge, implementation in terms of the action plan, and then the learning, the second learning is the experience. It's the feedback that God is bringing back to you. It's the universe talking back to you. You as a creator, you made the decision that you want to do this. And the universe aligns itself. God brings it in your way and you start moving towards that. So please avoid complaining. Look forward to, obstacles, because those obstacles are there for a good reason. They're there to make you learn something that you need to be able to reach where you're planning to go, because you are the one who makes the decision in terms of the direction that you want to face. So having said that, let's start off with a bit of recap of so far where we've come. I'll keep emphasizing, like I said from the word go, the concept of mindset. Mind. Everything is the mindset. And the moment you get this right, then life really becomes very easy. It really becomes very easy. And so the whole idea of the first part of this program, we were dealing with trying to understand the power that we have as human beings. A lot of us are not aware of it. And because we're not aware of it, other people have tapped into our minds to input things which are now controlling our lives. That is the main reason why a lot of people in this world struggle financially. Someone inserted the wrong programs in their mind, and they are not aware of that. So that awareness is so powerful, because what happens right now then is you get to make the decision on how you choose to proceed forward. You understanding who you are, who is a creator, created in the image and likeness of our Heavenly Father, we realize that as creators, He has given us the free will to choose the thoughts that we want to choose in our minds. And out of the choices that we make through the thoughts that we hold, we create our realities. So anytime you're not happy, I repeat again, if you're not happy with anything that is going on in your life, the reason is not because of something outside other than yourself. And that is what I'm saying. The moment you get to understand this concept, life becomes very easy, because there's a shift that happens. And that shift that happens is you stop living from a default state of what the society did to you, and you start living your life based on your own conscious decisions. You're making the decisions consciously. You're aware of what you're implementing into your mind. And that now becomes a game changer. You take control of your life as you discard the things that are fed inside there that are not working to help you. Okay? So it's very important. That's the first part of what we talked about. It was about understanding who we are. And we said we are basically creators. Then we went through the steps of creation and we said it starts with a thought. So thoughts are very powerful. Nothing happens in your life by default. Nothing happens in your life coincidentally. Everything happens because of a reason. And that reason, as difficult as this might be, you contributed to bringing it into your reality. And the earlier you start accepting this truth, the easier things are going to start coming up to you. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, the mind does not know the age. Its function is just to attract what you hold there. And that's why we emphasize it's very important for us to start watching the kind of talk that we have with ourselves. Hii maneno ya kusema hakuna, 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 we are actually attracting that thing called hakuna. And there's no single day it will ever show up to you. Why? It has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with the devil. It has nothing to do with the government or any other excuse you might want to use outside there. It all has to do with you. And the reason for that is because you are holding the thoughts of it not being there. The mind only knows how to attract. So the way God answers your prayer, the more you keep praying is, he keeps bringing the very same experience of what you're holding until the day you open up your eyes. So I told you, and I'm hoping we can do this, all of us. If there's any part of your mind that is doubting the things that I'm telling you today, let's give yourself this month and just think about one thing that you'd like to change in your life that you're not happy about. It doesn't have to be money only. It can be something else. And I want you to practice every single day before you sleep. Speak the opposite. Speak what you want, not what is at the default. Just keep speaking about it. Just keep speaking and keep saying it over and over and over. We are going to compare notes next, the first class we're going to have for next month. And we're going to listen to the testimonials or the feedback that you're going to have. There's no other way this thing works. It's exactly what I'm telling you. And so when it comes to money, understanding this is very powerful, because then you get to realize that by default, someone never wanted you to have a financially stable life. That is why 1% of the world controls the wealth around the world. They understand something that we don't. When I started this class, I told you, have you ever heard of any Jew who is poor? And I told you, you'll hardly come across that. Even here, right here in Kenya, it's very difficult, extremely difficult to come across a Somali who is poor. It is difficult to come across an Indian who is poor in this country of ours. But us, who this country belong to us, majority of us are poor. So why is that? Why is that? It means there's something these people understand that we don't. And that which they understand is exactly what the first part of this program was all about. Number one, the self-talk. Second, they have mastered the art of cooperating with each other. We, on our end, have been programmed to be competing with each other. When you compete with each other, you destroy each other. So then they start from a very small population, and because they're cooperating together, they just keep coming up and up and up and up and up. Na wanatupita tu kama tuko hapo, as we are busy here insulting each other and competing with each other, trying to outsmart each other, as if we came to this world to show off how well we're doing. You were born alone. And when you exit this world, you'll exit alone. So at the entry point, you're alone. At the exit, you're alone. What does that tell you between these 2 points? Common sense will tell you then, in between this point, the only thing that matters is you. So the focus should be with you, not outside. And that's why I gave you that story about the car keys at the beginning. People laughed at it because it sounded stupid, but I hope by now you can see that we exactly do that. So we need to start now shifting and reflecting back, because all the answers that we want are inside of us. God resides in us and is always answering all our prayers. There's no prayer that waits. That is not true. All prayers are answered, and the answer is always yes. So if God is always saying yes to your prayers, then why are you not being able to attain that which you're praying for? The answer is not God, the answer is you. And the answer is you are still holding the thoughts of the opposite thing that you want. So going forward, start practicing being in a state of gratitude. Start practicing being in that state of choosing what you want. It's like being in a supermarket and you're told to choose whatever it is that you want. So you can go for cooking oil, you can go for whatever it is that you want. That is how life is. God is just asking you, choose whatever it is you want to. Keep that thought here and it will come to you. So please, I've really emphasized on this because it is the truth. And I'm asking you all, members of Telepost Sacco, keep that thought of what you want. Remove the thoughts of the things which you do not want. By holding them, you're holding yourself captive. So that was the first part. And then I want to emphasize the two most important questions you can ever ask yourself at any given point in any given circumstances are the ones you can see on the screen. The first one states that, who am I? Remember, you're a creator. So when you ask yourself who I am, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to analyze the outcome of your life today based on the thoughts you have been holding in the past, which have led to the creation of this that is going on currently. For instance, let's assume we are talking about finances. If you're not happy with your finances today, the first question is asking you, who am I? Am I happy with my financial situation? If you're not happy, understand that you have created that through the thoughts. Now, the uniqueness about this thing is you did not know, but that by default state, your subconscious mind was programmed for you to work for money, not money work for you. So now that you've answered the first question, who am I? I am not happy with this financial situation. I keep finding myself. I am not happy at all. I want to change things. So that's what the first question is. Remember, I've said everything is about you. So we are not looking at the government or any other thing. You're just looking at yourself and you're saying, I'm not happy. So you've answered the first question. Then comes the second question. Who do I choose to be? In other words, what do I choose to create going forward? If I am not happy with my financial situation, given the past history of what I've been holding in my thoughts, who do I choose to be? So who do I choose to be means what kind of thoughts do I choose to instill in my mind going forward? If I continue holding the same thoughts I've been holding in the past, what will be the outcome? The outcome is given. You will continue struggling the same way. No matter how many prayers you send outside there, as long as you keep holding that old thoughts, you're not going to move forward. That is what the scripture tells us, faith. Jesus tells us if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, we can tell one mountain, move from that point to that. That's what the faith is. So the idea is just keep that thought of what you want. So who you choose to be, it means, do you want to replace the old thoughts with new thoughts? And this is where we are now. So the more you keep putting those thoughts, I promise you, life is going to take off. And not just in finances, but every area of your life, it works the same way. It's the formula of making yourself happy. And the moment you start doing these things, a lot of people are not going to understand you. Why? Because they are coming from the norm point of view that is programmed in the old certain way, the way you were before we met. So they might find you a bit strange. They might question some of the things that you're saying. Why? Because it is outside the norm. But it is that fear of walking into the unknown that your salvation will awaits you there. So in the second question, we say, we are now creating our reality from a conscious point of view. We are not living our life by default. We are not living our life by the subconscious mind, which we did not know existed and which was programmed by other people who did not want us to attain financial freedom. They wanted us to be workers, not thinkers. So that is very, very important for me to actually emphasize. So by default, in terms of personal finance, we were programmed to be consumers. That's why we're buying everything. Everything in Kenya we're buying, even toothpicks. We're importing toothpicks from outside, and we have graduates in this country. And no one is sitting down to question, wait, what's going on here? Of course, some will say the cost of this, cost of that are high and all that thing. But no, the moment we bring our minds together and decide, no, we are going to start producing things instead of consuming, then that tide is going to change. Because now we'll shift into asking, why is the cost of production so high? So we focus on inside, and imagine this is what actually China did. For those of you who know the history of it, Wachina walijifungia. No one in the entire world knew what was going on in China for quite a number of years. But the day they opened up, they became a threat to the United States. It is something they did because they understood these things I'm teaching you. That's why they started programming their kids. Mnasikiaga watoto wao wanatengeneza saa kama hii. Primary kids. Wa university wetu hapa hivi hata hii ukimpatia kama inaharibika ajue ataanzia wapi. Because they understood the power of starting it from a very young age. And so they kept doing that, and that's why they're so innovative. It has just become their culture. And see, now they're exporting everything, you name it, mpaka samaki wanaleta kwetu, and we have Lake Victoria. So this is the truth. I am telling you, apply these things I'm teaching you, and your life is gonna take off. So I was very pleased when that gentleman came and told me, I'm ready to take off. I am taking off. It told me he's already gotten it. So as much as there are more lessons to come, he's already applying. And you can feel the energy of his joy when he's saying it. Please do not be left behind. So understand these two questions. Every time you're not happy with anything about your life, question yourself with these two questions, and you'll see how it plays out. So last time we went through something I called the cash flow quadrant. So this part now we started learning, we're talking about the right knowledge. So we are done with the right mindset. Now we've entered what we're calling the right knowledge. So we said the first thing that you need to learn about financial education, if you want financial freedom or wealth, the first thing that you need to learn is not to save or all those things they've been teaching you. The first thing you need to learn is, where is money found? And that's where the concept of the cash flow quadrant came into being. So we said there are 4 categories from where you can earn money from, 4 of them. There are many ways of how you can earn money, but we can take all those ways and summarize them in one of these 4 boxes. So the first one, we called it E, standing for employee. The second one is S, standing for small business or sole proprietorship. Then the third one is B, standing for big business. And I stands for investments. And so we looked at 3 things in each one of those. Was number 1, we questioned what is each part. And then 2, we ask ourselves, how do you make money in each of those 4 categories? And then the last thing that we looked at is, what is the difference between the people who are found on the left-hand side versus those who are found on the right-hand side? And so from the screen, you can see those who in E basically are looking for security. These are people who like being safe in a job place. Now, remember I told you the one of the downside of our education system is it pushes us to perfection. By that, it instills fear in us. Because if you become number 2, then you feel bad. Why are you feeling bad and you didn't show up in this world to compete with anyone? Be happy with your mark. Instead of saying next time ndakuwa number 1, tell yourself, I've got X marks. Next time I want to get X plus 10 or 20. You're competing with yourself. Don't compete with others. And this is what I'm telling you, all these other nations within our country are beating us because they understand this. We are seriously programmed to compete. It's about how well you're doing compared to your neighbor, to your brother. And that's why the country is so toxic. That's why you will find the news is just negative throughout. There's nothing even to smile about. So those who are in E are afraid of losing their job. So there's that security. I'd rather be getting that paycheck every end month as long as inaingia. Afadhali nikae hapa kuliko nikose. Yet you expect financial freedom. You'll never get financial freedom when you're at E. It will take you ages and a lot of financial wisdom to actually be able to create financial freedom. And that means you need to tap on the money you're making at E and place it somewhere within the right-hand side, specifically at I, investments. That's how you're going to attain your financial freedom. If you're a big doctor earning whatever amount of money you're earning, keep earning until you retire, then let's see what happens to you after retirement. We need to empower you to actually realize the way this thing is controlled without you realizing. So we are saying any people at E, you have to be very careful. Do not retire with both of your legs standing at E. You're really going to have it rough at retirement. And if you do not believe me, I was actually very pleased this Saturday. One of your members actually spoke and he talked about how when he retired, he decided to dispose one of the assets he had bought, and he picked that money and brought it, all of it, to the Sacco. Something triggered him to realize that if I sell all this property and I keep this money with me, itaisha hivi haraka. Why? Because you don't have a plan of what you want to do with it. So he realized, if I place it in the Sacco and I can be earning some small interest on it, that is going to keep me going. So it's like creating your own employment. Those are things we're going to talk later on, but I'm just giving you an example of showing you the danger of just being here. Then we moved on to S. S, now those people are looking for independence. They want to be their own bosses. They don't want to report to someone. So this is fine. It's much better than E, but there's a lot of risk required here because starting your own business is not easy. 1, you require the right knowledge. 2, you require the right experience. Now, there's no way in education system where they teach us how to create our own businesses and run them. Throughout, even Strathmore University does not teach that. It teaches people how to manage other people's business, not yours. So when you hear people saying, I've gone to Strathmore Business School, no, they're being taught how to be CEOs, to be here at E. They're not being taught how to create their own companies and run them. So understand business, running your own business is not something that schools can teach you. You need to come out here. And so what happens, a lot of people who are employed, they fear coming out to start something. There's a voice that tells them, endo wanze. Ingine naambia baki, kikiumana kutaenda aje. And so they hold and hold and hold. But those who get, the boost of coming out and starting the business, wakigongo tu kidogo hivi kwa biashara, they quickly run back to employment and they start saying, biashara iko na wenyewe. Haina wenyewe. Just like a baby who is born, there's no baby who is born and they run. You have to start by crawling. Then you start holding yourself on the wall or somewhere until your legs become strong enough to hold you before you run. That's how nature is. There's no seed you plant today and in the evening it's a tree. It takes time. So when you observe nature, you realize everything takes time. And so for those of you who are thinking of going to the business world and you've never done that, understand that principle. That's why I told you, you can start your side hustle as you're working, but don't put a lot of money because the initial amount you're putting into the business is to help you now grow, help your legs become strong. You want to crawl before you start holding yourself, before you start running. So as you get the experience and you understand the ropes of how business work, you can start adding more capital into that business. Okay, so that's S for you. Then B, we talked about, these are people now who create an ecosystem, a business that they don't need to be there. It runs by itself, even without being there. And that is where, for those of you who are looking forward to business, should be thinking about. This is what the Jews do. This is what most Indians do. This is what now the Somalis are doing in our country. This is what the Chinese people are doing. Where they at B, and us, we are busy at A, looking for employment from them. So it's all about mindset. They've been given the same mind like you, with the same God, with the same universe. Tap into it and create it. Stop limiting your thinking. Don't think it's too big for you. Because as a man thinks, in the book of Genesis, in the book of, what is it called? I've forgotten it, but it says, as a man thinks, so is he. It's all about your mindset. So stop limiting yourself. Remember, it's not your fault. We were forced to limit ourselves in terms of thinking through our education system. Like I told you, that's why they started telling us, when you grow up, become a doctor and all these things they're telling us the moment we joined nursery school. So now that we understand this, we need to do two things. Number one, we need to change. We need to dream big. And that's why the trading company of my company is called Dreamers Club. We are forming a club of dreamers, people who are not limiting themselves in terms of thinking. And secondly, let us be the last generation who is going to go through these financial struggles. Let's make sure our children learn these concepts from a very young age, and let's see what happens into the future. So B stands for big wealth, and then finally I is for investments. So investments is the mindset of someone who's holding some money and they're asking themselves, where can I place this money for it to grow, for it to multiply? That's the mindset of someone who's seated here. I have this 100 shilling. How do I multiply it by 3 to become 300? Once I get the 300, what can I do with it to become 1,000? Once it's 1,000, what can I do with it to make it 5,000? And so forth and so on. So understanding of this, the power of understanding this cash flow is right in front of your eyes. You can see where wealth is. You can see where financial freedom is. So the question becomes, just think about your life so far and what you've been taught all along your life and all the classes you've gone through in terms of financial literacy, and see where your mind has been. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, you've always been on the left-hand side. So they want to tell you you're going to attain financial freedom, but no one is telling you which side. So you are programmed from the word you go to be thinking about employee. And so you're saving so much expecting freedom will come out. It won't. That is why the retired people I told you we did the research, over 95% of them who had very well-paying jobs are struggling financially. So this is so powerful because it shows you where the wealth is. And you being the creator, it's upon you right now to choose, where do I choose to go? The first question is, who am I? So right now we can comfortably answer that question and say, who we are members of Telepost Sacco who have been on the left-hand side. But now we know that financial freedom is found on the right-hand side. Wealth is found on the right-hand side. So the second question comes in, where do we choose to be? So if you want to choose wealth or financial freedom, you know where it is. So now you have a compass that is directing you where you're supposed to be. And what is so interesting and lovely about this thing is it does not care whether you're educated or not. It does not matter what part of position you hold, whether you are a sweeper somewhere or a guard or you're a CEO. The mind doesn't care about that. The only thing it cares about is what thoughts are you holding. So hold the right thoughts and see miracles happen in your life. Okay? The other thing I want to mention is this. If you are on the left-hand side, trust me, you pay the most tax. I'm going to repeat that. If you're on the left-hand side, you pay the most tax. The people on the right-hand side pay the least tax. Mshasikia watu wakisema You know, tax the rich people, tax the rich people. The system was designed to make sure they pay less. And if time allows, by the end of our classes, I'm going to show you how they do it. When you're on the right-hand side, and you're doing it legally, not illegally, okay? I will show you how, if time allows us at the end of our classes. But please take note of that. On the left-hand side, you are taxed a lot. Why? Because if you're an employee, it's going to be deducted from your salary. Your employer is going to deduct from that. The government can come anytime and say the increase in taxes to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if you're on the other hand side, because it's your business, it's you running your own investments, you can figure a way of playing around in a legal way such that you're able to reduce the tax that you pay. So that's the power of understanding this diagram, okay? So allow me now to proceed on to the next topic. Now, once you understand what the cash flow quadrant is, the next topic that you're supposed to understand are these 5 keywords. If you want financial freedom, you need to understand these 5 words at any given point. Number 1, income. 2, expense. 3, asset. Hedrick, please mute on your end. Hedrick. Thank you. So number 1 is income. 2 is expense. 3 is asset. 4, liability. And number 5, what we call cash flow. These 5 words are words that you need to have at your fingertips. So let's go through them one by one. Now, I know all of you know what income is, so that I'm going to skip. You all know what expenses are. That I'm also going to skip. So I want to focus today on the next 3 ones. So for those of you who've gone and studied finance, I'm sure there's a definition you're given about assets and liabilities. But for this program, and for the sake of your future, in terms of where you want to go, please do not use those definitions you're given in school. I want you to use the definition I'm going to share with you here. And this is very, very important, okay? Let's start with asset. The definition of an asset, simply put, an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. As simple as that. Do not try and complicate things. Kitu yoyote ambayo inaleta pesa kwa mfuko wako, we call that thing an asset. We generalize it as an asset. Okay? A liability, on the other hand, is the opposite of an asset. It is anything that is removing money from your pocket. Anything that is removing money from your pocket, we call that a liability. Okay? So the idea here, so that you're not able to complicate things, I want you to look at this as your pocket. So what we're saying is, anything that is bringing money into your pocket, that is an asset. Anything that is removing money away from your pocket, that's a liability. I hope that definition is simple enough. Please, especially those of you who studied finance, do not try to complicate things here. Forget everything you're taught in school. I just want you to take this. And this is so powerful. You're going to see it in a few minutes' time. Okay? Now, why are these 2 very important? They're very important because for us to attain financial freedom, for us to attain wealth, then it means we need to be having money coming to us. You cannot be wealthy if money is not coming to you. Okay? So we need to understand the general term of the things that bring money to us. Okay? Now, liability keeps removing money. All the time, person inatoka. If money is always coming out of your pocket, you cannot expect to be wealthy. you cannot expect to attain financial freedom. That again is the importance of understanding the general term of things that remove money from our pocket. Okay? So let's have a quick look at some of these things. So let's start with assets. So we're going to do a small exercise here. Assets. So here comes a question to you. A car, a personal car, is a personal car an asset or a liability? So the question becomes, what you do is you ask yourself, hii gari yangu ikiwa hapa hivi, naitumia kwenda kazini, kufanya vitu zangu, blah, blah, blah. Does it remove money in my pocket? Or, so if this is your pocket, does it remove money or does it bring money in? Okay, so I can see liability. Aha, thank you, Juliet. That is correct. So a personal car is a liability. Why? Because you have to fuel. Ukiweka mafuta, si pesa inatoka kwa mfuko yako. Gari yako ikiharibika, unaipeleka garage. Makanika, pesa inatoka kwa mfuko. So a personal car is always removing money from your pocket. So we call a personal car a liability. I hope that is clear. Okay, let's convert this personal car now to become a taxi. Uber, Bolt, Faras, whatever you want to call it. Now, is that an asset or a liability now? I'm waiting on the chat. I'm looking for answers. Aha, Purity, thank you. Thank you, Eunice. So an Uber, at the end of the day, you're ferrying people, people pay you. So that money gets into your pocket. Every trip you're going, money is coming into your pocket. So we say that a taxi is an asset. Thank you very much. Okay, let's try another one. A house, you're paying rent. Nyumba unalipa rent. Is it an asset or a liability? Aha, liability. Brilliant. Now I see you're getting it. Excellent, excellent. Okay, a house which you're receiving rent. Nyumba ambayo una receive rent. Asset. Asset. Good, because the money coming in, it is coming into your pocket. This is brilliant. You're really getting this right. Now here comes a tricky question, okay? A house that is yours, you live in it. It is yours and you live in it. Is it an asset or a liability? You've probably built a house, you're living in it. Unaishi ndani. Is it an asset or a liability? Liability one, asset, liability. Lily, liability. Can I have from different people? Naona tu ni wale the same people who are repeating. Two more. Liability, Sokia, thank you. One more. Asset. Aha. Okay. Now, let me explain this to you. For those of you who are saying it's an asset, you are falling into the trap of the very education system I was talking about. We have defined an asset as anything that puts money into your pocket. So tell me, a house that you own and you live in it, how does it bring money to you? Is there a single day that house will bring money to you if you're living in it? And the answer is no. The question then becomes, will it remove money when I am living in it? So we ask ourselves, when we are living inside this house, do we pay for electricity? Do we pay for water? Do we pay for Wi-Fi? Are there certain things that we pay for and immediately realize, oh, by the way, so the house that I own and I live in it is a liability because it is removing money to pay electricity bill, it is removing money to pay my water bill, and so forth. However, the education system told you that house is an asset. And this is where now you find a lot of people who studied finance will start arguing with me or arguing with that truth. But let me ask you, imagine living in a house, a 3-bedroom house, and you have no money for food. Hiyo nyumba itakuletea pesa ya chakula? It won't. Now, Douglas, you have come and you have told me it saves money. And that's why I told you, stop complicating things. I have talked about a very simple definition, okay? Ashford, Mutwiri, and Douglas, I have told you, stop complicating things. Simple definition. Is it removing money or putting money? It's not about saving. I did not mention anything to do with savings. I talked about movement of money because financial freedom is understanding how cash flows, which will be the next thing we're going to study. How does money flow? So it has nothing to do with saving. It's about the flow of money. So that house which you live in, how is money flowing? Is it removing or putting money into your pocket? Even if it's little money, it's still removing. And that's the definition that I want us to get. This is a discussion that brought a lot of debate. When I was talking to the top savers on Saturday, including a chairman. But I am not saying here that it is wrong to own a house. I'm going to explain to you in the near future the 4 steps of financial education, of which you only taken through one, which they call the financial, they call it the financial literacy, okay? Now, it is important when you're starting, the first thing you need to understand is, where do I earn from? Once I start earning money, there are those basic things that you need. For example, you need food, water, and all that. We can say that's the next level. Once you're comfortable, you can afford that. Then you ask yourself, can I take my children to school? Once you're comfortable with that, I need a home. So it makes sense to build your own home rather than renting, because building a house gives you that comfort. But that does not make the house an asset because it will still be removing money. Now, once you've finished up building all these things that bring comfort into your life, now you proceed on now to figure ways of how you can start now increasing the wealth around you. So now you start focusing on investments, and if you want to build companies around that. So just because you are told a house is an asset, don't fall into that trap. People take loans to buy houses, and then they say nyumba ni yangu. That house is not an asset to you. It's a liability to you. Number one, you're paying that loan to the bank, but that house is an asset to the bank because the bank is earning from you. The bank is putting money into their pocket coming from you. So I go back and say, please understand the importance of these 5 words is because if you are programmed to believe something is an asset, while in the truth it's a liability, it will keep removing money from your pocket, and you'll wonder why you're not being able to attain the financial freedom you're looking for. So it is important for us to be very clear about these 2 categories, such that being the creator we are, moving forward, we say we choose to focus on assets. So the assets we want to focus on, we must make sure that they always bring in money to us. So if you tend to think a house is an asset and you buy that, it's not bringing money to you. You'll keep getting frustrated because there's no income coming in. And then you wonder why you're not being able to attain the freedom you're looking for. So this is one of the things that was cleverly also tweaked around our curriculum, unfortunately, for institutions to profit. In the second class, I told you how the banks designed what you're taught in financial literacy. And I told you banks are brokers between savers and who? And borrowers. So they were trying to figure a way, because back then, they were not even able to raise their own capital, unlike these days. So if the borrowers were to demand more than what they were holding from savers, they had to be very creative to figure ways of how they could bring more savings so that they could get the capital to issue out to those who wish to borrow. So they realized, again, through what I'm teaching you, if we can program people to believe in saving and it gets into their subconscious mind, they will naturally bring money to us. And that's what they did. That's why the Center of Financial Literacy is centered on savings. But I keep asking you a very simple question. Show me one millionaire who you know who got there through savings. Show me one billionaire who preaches savings. Just one of them. If that is the true path towards financial freedom, show me one. And so if there's none, why are they really pushing the concept of saving? We are going to study that hopefully the next class. I took through the top savers that concept, and it dawned on them so well, and it's gonna dawn on you very well in the next class as well. Okay? So please understand, it's very important to differentiate these two words, assets and liabilities. Don't fall into the trap of what you studied for so many years and you got a degree or a PhD. It's difficult to accept a simple definition like this suffices, but the truth of the matter is look outside and see for yourself. I told you there's something these other people understand that we do not. And what I'm teaching you through here is exactly what they understand. Okay? Now, here is a tricky one. Okay? Are you ready? Asset or liability? Your children. Answers. Are your children assets or liabilities? Huh? Now, hapa mnakwama. Kwa nini? Okay? It is very simple. Now, I'm not asking you, I know how it sounds. I know how it sounds, but that's not why I'm saying this to you. Let me explain myself. For you to attain financial freedom, you have to be in control of your finances, not your finances controlling you. And so I know it sounds bad referring to our children or either assets or liabilities, but the truth of the matter is children demand a lot from us in terms of spending. So financial wisdom will tell you, I need to understand that kids generally are liabilities, not in a bad way. So the moment you realize your wife is expecting, unaanza kujipanga immediately, because you know in the near future, I will need start now paying. I'll start saving up for hospital. I know I'll start these visits za mama kwenda hospitali kuona daktari. I know for the next 2 years akizaliwa, diapers, budget lazima ikue. So when you look at all those things psychologically, your mind prepares you to start preparing yourself early on what's coming in the future. If failure to do that, mshakutana na watu wanasema, anakupigia leo anakuambia mtoto wangu amekuja, mtoto wangu amezaliwa, nisaidie na loan ya shilingi 20,000 nitakurudisha mwisho wa mwezi. Where were you all those 9 years? It's because you had not prepared yourself psychologically. That's the reason why this thing got you off guard. So the same principle, understanding that, helps you prepare for what's coming. Remember, we are taking control of our lives. The second question is, who do we choose to be? And whoever we're choosing to be, we say that addresses us living our lives from a conscious point of view. We are taking control of our lives. So understanding this definition, then we know where to put money, where not to put money. So the same thing can be applied to our parents. Okay? We were children, our parents took care of us. We were liabilities to them. Now most of us are working, our parents have retired and they have aged. They need us to take care of them. So the same principle applies. And so when you put these things into practice, into your mind, you start making plans. I know I have kids who are coming, I have parents. I want to build a house, I want to do this, so that it is so clear the kind of things that you want to achieve. And so you start planning. Because remember, as a creator, everything starts with a thought. And that thought, if you do not have it, then you're existing, you're not living. So that helps you psychologically to prepare yourself for, or even to decrease the risk of the uncertainty things coming to your life. Okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to mention about here is this. I want you to take a look around your house where you are. I want us to see deep inside in our subconscious mind exactly which of these two things have been programmed, which of these two things are running inside the subconscious. Okay? So I want you to look at your house, just look around it. I want you to think about all other areas in your house where you're not. From even the sitting room, I want you to think about your bathroom, about your kitchen. I want you to think about the bedrooms. Okay? And I want you to tell me what percentage can you see of assets? Type for me, what percentage of assets can you see in your house vis-a-vis liabilities? Haya, majibu zikuja sasa. Hello? What percentage can you see? Zero. Thank you, Juliet. So your house doesn't have a single asset. Let's go on. We are opening up because I'm trying to prove to you the power of the subconscious mind. Liability is 90%. Good. Sarah, 2%. Purity, tell me what assets are those 10% in your house? Purity Onyango, write to me. Which are those 10% of assets you can see in your house? From your TV, your fridge, cooker, you name it. Your bed, your sheets, ile sabuni unatumia, everything. Do you see? Now that small exercise you see there shows you what your subconscious mind is programmed to focus on. You have been programmed to focus on liabilities, and it's not your fault. It started when you are a little boy or girl, through those things of mom ninunulia sweetie, as we saw in the first, second class. So when they were buying these things for you, you became a consumer, and becoming a consumer is removing money from your pocket. You didn't realize that's the danger it was starting. Now look where we are today. So the issue of your financial status has nothing to do with how educated you are or what kind of a position you're holding. Okay? It all has to do with the programs which are running deep inside in your subconscious and you're not aware of them. So this realization is a wake-up call, because now you tell yourself, this is who I am. So going forward, the second question, who do I choose to be? From now going forward, I need to shift my mind from liabilities all the way to assets. So that house example I've given you, of course, we can't have assets, so many assets within the house. So what I want you to do before you sleep today, I want you to take a piece of paper and write this as it is, okay? And then I want you to write the number of assets that you have. Remember what an asset is. Do not write land if that land is not bringing money to you. That's not an asset. So what you do here is you say employment. If you're from E, because employment brings money to you. So being an employee is an asset. If you have a side job, you put it here too, a side hustle. And then I want you to write all the liabilities that you have here. So you can start with rent, food, water, children, blah, blah, blah. Take time to write them down and eventually compare the percentage of this side and this side. It's not rocket science. It's as simple as what that diagram is going to show you. You are so programmed to focus on liabilities. So the idea now going forward, all of us as members of Telepost is we want now to start tweaking our minds to move from liabilities to here. That is the secret to financial freedom. It is not about savings and all those things they tell you. It's about shifting your mind to make sure that you are focusing on what we call assets. Tuko pamoja? Okay, good. So now, the next thing I'm going to cover is, because we've realized now for us to attain financial freedom, the focus needs to move. As creators, what we need to always have in our minds are assets. We now want to understand assets deeper because there are two types of assets I want to take you through. So the first one is called cash flowing assets, which I will be referring as CFA. And the second type is called non-cash flowing assets, which I'm going to refer to as NCFA. So there are two types of assets. Again, don't go with the definition you're given at school. Go with this simple definition I'm giving you. Now, the difference between these two is what? Number one, cash flowing assets, as the name suggests, are assets that bring money to you on a regularly basis. An asset that is constantly bringing you money, or an asset that brings money into your pocket at regular time intervals, we refer to that asset as a cash flowing asset. Cash is flowing periodically into your pocket. Cash is flowing into your pocket periodically. So we refer to that as a cash flowing asset. A non-cash flowing asset, on the other hand, is an asset that increases in value such that if you sell it, the net of what you bought it and what you sold it is going to be positive into your pocket. So yes, eventually it's going to bring money to you should you decide to dispose it, but it will be a positive income to you. However, it does not bring money to you on a regularly basis. That's what we refer to as a non-cash flowing asset. So this understanding is very key. And a good example I'm going to share with you is, I want you to think about land, okay? So there's this example. Let's assume me and your chairman, Bwana Mohammed, we purchase land here worth 1 million each today, okay? So this is today. And the reason why we are purchasing this land, it's because we have heard, let's assume the government is planning to build a highway somewhere near this land. So we know the value of this land is going to appreciate in the near future. So we say, in 10 years' time, both me and Mr. Mohammed, we want to sell this land. So we bought it at 1 million. That was the buying price. And our expectation is that in 10 years' time, we can sell it at 10 million. Okay? So let's assume the government builds that highway near this place. And after 10 years, it is true that this value has gone to 10 million. Okay? So both me and Mr. Mohammed are going to make a net of 9 million. So that 9 million gets into our pockets. Now, Mr. Mohammed decides, if I buy this 1 million piece of land, does it make sense for me to leave it there for 10 years for it to appreciate in value? And he says, no, it doesn't make any sense. Then he goes ahead and asks himself, is there something I can do with this piece of land such that it can start generating some revenue for me on a yearly basis? So he comes up with this smart idea. He says, nitaanza kupanda mboga, nitaweka kuku, nitafuga hivi na hivi. So let's assume out of that initiative or proactiveness, Mr. Mohammed starts making 500,000 every year profit from those things he's doing within the land. So you can see in 10 years, Mr. Mohammed will have 5 million, okay, from the products. Hiyo shamba, hizo vitu anauza, kama amefuga wanyama, kama anauza mboga ama kitu kama hiyo. Plus, when he sells it after 9 years at 9 million, okay? But for me, I'll only have the 9 million here. Why? Because I just left the land there to appreciate in value and sold it after 10 years, making 9 million. So we say my asset is a non-cash flowing asset. I did not come up with ways of how it could generate money for me on certain time intervals. On the other hand, Chairman Mohammed said, it does not make sense for me to wait for 10 years. So he came up with a clever thing to do, of which he started generating 500,000 every year, 500 every year. So we say Mr. Mohammed converted a non-cash flowing asset to become a cash flowing asset. And so you can see the difference here. Ameniacha na 5 million. Like I said, it is not rocket science. It's just having the right knowledge. The scripture told us from the word go, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So why is understanding these two types of assets important? It's important because going forward, as creators, we want to choose not just an asset, but a cash flowing asset to kickstart our financial freedom journey. How many people do you know of up country who own vast piece of land, but they're always broke? Ni wangapi wenyu mko hapa Nairobi, wazazi wenyu nyumbani wako na shamba kubwa, lakini you are feeding them from here Nairobi? It's because what they own is this. So you being here, if you really want to help your parents up there, you need to figure a way of how you're going to convert part of this non-cash flowing asset to become a cash flowing asset, such that that asset that generates, they stop calling you because they have a source of revenue from where they can earn from. So again, the trick here as creators is to start focusing on cash flowing assets. I have these classes that I run also for diasporas, and I can tell you the moment they learn this thing, they quickly come up with ways of what they can do up country. And so far, all of them are telling me, hata wazazi walacha kunitisha pesa. In fact, they're so excited, they're expanding what they've started. Because number one, you give them something to keep them busy at their old age. And the moment the revenue starts coming in, it excites them such that they want to do more. So they start expanding it by themselves. And this is the concept that I want all of us members of Telepost to actually on board. As creators, through the creation process of thought, we need to make sure that we hold the right thoughts towards financial freedom or towards wealth. And the secret of that is cash flowing. Focus on cash flowing assets for starters, because we want to come up with ways of how different stream of income that can be bringing money in, so that we start becoming stable from where we are. We make sure, number one, our kids are fed well, we feed ourselves well. Number two, we have a shelter, even if it's rent, they go to school very well. So once this income starts coming in and we get to that comfort zone, it is what I was explaining earlier. Now I want to go to the next level. Now that everything is taken care of, usha budget maneno ya university na wengine quarter you okay. The next step now, I want to move out of paying rent. I want to build my own house. So these incomes which are coming in are going to aid you so fast to get there. So you take this income again and you start making it work for you to own your own house. And once you own your own house, remember that house, once you move inside, it is a liability. It will be consuming money. So now you want to go to the next level. Add more sources of income, more cash flowing assets. And those assets now start expanding your wealth, because now you've gotten that point, now everything is comfortable around you. So the next thing that you need to do is expand on the wealth. So once you get to the wealth, we'll start now creating something we call your portfolio, your investment portfolio. So inside it, you can have now a mix of what we call cash flowing assets and non-cash flowing assets. So like for me in my portfolio, more often than not, if I am buying land, I'm not buying it for myself. I'm buying it for my children. That's the way I've designed, because I've come up with a plan of how I intend, once I leave this world, the way my family name is going to run down the line. And one of the things will be very simple. Any of my children, by the time they reach 18 years old, they have to buy X acres of land for their children, not theirs, just like I am doing for them. And so I want it to become a tradition. And the reason why I came up with this idea is because I remember my mom in the early 90s, he was giving me a story about my father. For those of you who attended the first class, I talked to you about my father. He was the first captain of East Africa Airways. My father helped this Maasai from Kajiado to get the son a scholarship in the United States to go and study medicine there. So we are talking about late 70s. So this time Maasais were so focused na ng'ombe. So this happened to be one of those Maasais who saw education is key. And because my dad used to go and drink there, wakakuwa marafiki, akampress kabisa, then he decided just to help him out. So the son managed to leave the country. Now, the Maasai, on the other hand, did not have money to give back to my father to say thank you. So what did he do? He had vast piece of land. So he decided to offer my father, listen to this please, and it's a true story. He offered my father 5 acres of land in Kitengela. 5 acres of land in Kitengela. And my father rejected it. As a matter of fact, he got so angry that he went to yell at my mom saying, Masara ni dharawaja na nipatia shamba mali kumeja wanyama hivi ndo nini ifanyike? What can I do with such a place now? Imagine today, an eighth in Kitengele inaenda na pesa ngapi? So that told me land appreciates a lot, but because we just think about ourselves, we don't think deeply financially about our children and the future. The much you're programmed to think about is education, and that's it. Wajitafutie kutoka hapo. So I keep imagining if my father just accepted to take that one, today I will have owned 1 acre in Kitengela. How much will I have been worth? So that's one of the things I came up with. So I'll be buying land for my children. By the time they're reaching my age, I know that value will have gone up. So it is this kind of things that you come up with a plan, which we're going to do in our last class, where we create a plan for ourselves starting from where we are, going forward, we'll come up with maybe a 5 or 10-year plan. At least I'll guide you on how to do about that and give you hints about how you can create what we call succession wealth, such that when you're not there, haishi inaenda tu kiongezeka. And I want to remind you, please, it is not about how educated you are or what position you are. Everything is your mindset. Please, please, please. I'm emphasizing that because our education system told us that if you do not go to certain schools, we are useless. And it was pushed down our throat with our teachers to katandiko tukiwa shuleni, you're useless, you can't do this, to a point where we accepted that to be the truth. So we held those thoughts into our minds, and they are making us struggle today as a result of that. So we have to reverse that. There's no shortcut. We have to reverse that. They lied to us. We are more than what they told us to be. Not every animal can swim. And not every animal can climb trees. If you put all animals under a tree, the monkey will go very fast up. But if you place them in the water, monkey itashindwa kuingia. The fish is going to lead. So you cannot create this education system and expect all of us to be A students. No, some of us or some other people were created differently. And so it's not a just system because it only focuses on that monkey. So once we understand this, we take a step behind and say, hey, we are in our own capacity. We need to make the change that is required going forward. Okay? So I hope I'm speaking to you. I hope you're really understanding this concept. So assets and liabilities is the second topic. Once you get to understand where the money is from the cash flow quadrant, I said the second topic is understanding these 5 words, but mainly I'm narrowing it down to assets and liabilities. So I hope you've understood that deeply. Now I want to move to the third topic today. And that topic is I'm going to call it the cash flow programs. The cash flow programs. I'm sure you've heard people say cash flow is king. If you've never heard of that, understand that it is. Cash flow, how money flows, is king. Okay? And for us to learn about that, we are going to have this diagram here. Okay? This is how it's going to look like. In fact, now, if you take any person, all of us, kila mtu hii dunia, from children to the eldest, there are 3 ways of how money flows. There are 3 programs that are running in our minds. And each one of us is programmed with one of these 3. I repeat again, there are 3 ways of how money flows. And each one of us, without our realization again, our subconscious has been programmed to have one of these 3 programs. If you have the first 2, you are going to struggle financially. But if you have the third one, whether you're educated or not, money will always flow into your pockets. So what we want to do here is we want to understand us, where we are, you as an individual, where you are, which of these 3 programs is running in your mind, in your subconscious mind to be specific, okay? So the diagram you see here, we are going to have now those 5 words I talked about, okay? So number 1, at the top here, we're going to have income. Here we're going to have expense. Here we're going to have assets. And here we're going to have liabilities. Please take note of this. So I said there are 5 keywords that you need to understand if you want to attain financial freedom or wealth. So number 1 is income, 2 is expense. We have looked at the definition of assets and broken it down into cash flowing assets and non-cash flowing assets. And we have also looked at liabilities. So there's one more, which is what we want to study now, and that is cash flow. Just like the wind blows, it can move from east to west, from south to north. Just like a river flows from upstream to downstream, money has 3 ways of how it flows. And each one of us has one of those 3. So when you're not aware of your subconscious mind program, then someone can instill the wrong program or the wrong cash flow. And that way you become their slave for life. You will struggle so hard for your life. And you wonder why it's not. You'll attend all courses you can think about financial freedom, and you'll wonder why no change is coming to you. So here is how it works. So here we have our cash flow quadrant, that is E, S, B, and I. So this cash flow quadrant, irrespective of where you are, the money coming out of this is income. It's coming to you. So if you're an employee, unalipa mwisho wa mwezi, pesa inaingia kama income. If you have a small business, pesa inaingia kama income. If you're in the big business, money is coming as income. Investment, the same thing. So now, let us look at those 3 ways. So the first one, I'm going to indicate it in blue. So money comes in here, okay? And then immediately walks out of here. We call this cash flowing program 1. So pesa inaingia kama imetoka, inaingia kama imetoka, inaingia kama imetoka. Have you heard of those people who are paid, let's say on the 1st of the month, lakini kifika tarehe 5 ashaanza kuuliza advance iko lini? Money in, money out. Haikagi kwa mfuko, in, out, in, out. And where did this thing start from? Let's go back to what we've learned previously. From the psychological point of view, and I was taking you through how our children are programmed to be consumers. I told you they lied to our forefathers that it is wrong to teach children about money, knowing very well that we as parents will be taking our children for shopping. And they understood that children learn from observing more than what we tell them. So we accepted what they're teaching us is the correct thing. So we don't teach our children about the concept of money. Yet we are the same people who take them to shops, to malls, and all they observe is us spending. Every time we're just picking things from the shelves, you're paying, we're paying. So children from a very young age, the subconscious mind starts get programmed that money, the sole purpose of money is spending. That is why I told you by the age of 3, when you're leaving the house, your son or your daughter at that age will tell you, Daddy, mami ukirudi jioni uniletee tamtam. It is already programmed at that age, imagine, even before they join school. So in terms of the program, you're saying, huo mtoto unaweza mwambia shika basi shilingi 5 uende ukajinunulie. Atakimbia kwa duka leo 10, anunue sweet ya shilingi 5 na achi hata change akimbie nyumbani. It is the shopkeeper who's calling him. Umeacha? Akirudi anauliza, inaweza nunua ingine? Unaweza nunua ingine. So what program are we talking about? We are talking about money in, money out. Money in, money out. For the first 7 years, that is what the subconscious mind of our children is constantly exposed and bombarded with. From television advertisement, radio advertisement, I told you, all those things, magazines, everywhere is just advertisement. That's the danger. So it accumulates like a wall coming up. It's programmed one layer after another, after another, after another, until it becomes fun. Money is for spending the first 7 years. So we call that the cash flow program one. The second one, I'm going to place it in green. So money comes in here as income. And the first thing it does, it goes to purchase a liability here. And then this liability starts consuming money from your pocket outside this way as an expense. So we call this the cash flow program 2. So we go back to what we said. The first 7 years, we've programmed our children with 1 by default. And it's not our fault again. We didn't know this truth. It was hidden from us. And that's why I told you, where we have reached, it's upon you and I to determine the future of our generations which are coming up. If you don't believe this is true, let's continue doing things that we've been doing before. But let's remember the definition of insanity as stated by Einstein. He stated insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's what we've been doing. And things are just becoming worse and worse and worse for us as other nations are prospering in our country. It's time we wake up and realize that we need to change. And the way we can change is by changing our thoughts and how we do things. So in the first 7 years, we're saying we're programming our children money in, money out. Between 7 and 23, before they start working, we talked about those celebrities who come and start influencing our children through showing them the lavish lifestyles they live. And the message that it is sent to the subconscious now of these teenagers or preteens and teens is, you are supposed to spend money on specific things, luxury things. So we said a teenager who wants a phone is not going to ask for an item. They'll want an iPhone. That's how it starts. They do not want a normal watch like this. They want to wear a label called Gucci or whatever it is it's called. They don't feel they've worn clothes if they're putting something simple as what I'm having here. They want a label, Chanel. All these things. And guess what? Someone is just sitting there and playing with your minds. I mean, Judith, where you are, ukichukua wendo nunue t-shirt, a plain t-shirt, alafu weka jina Judith here, who's going to buy it? But if you bring something like Chanel here, the youth are going to run for it. So think psychologically, what's going on here? Judith and Chanel are just names. Simply put their names placed on a t-shirt or a shirt. But why would someone choose to pay 10,000 to buy Chanel, alafu dharau ya Judith? Do you see how we are controlled? So they create things which we don't need in this world, and then they keep bringing them to us to purchase. Who said you need to drive a Lamborghini? Well, a small Toyota can take you from point A to B. It's that concept of competing. That's how it damages the whole society as a nation. You want to outsmart each other. And they're doing all this so that they're able to create things which you don't need. Now we have the beauty products, which has now become a multi-billion. The way God created you, are you not beautiful? Why do you need all this makeup? Why do you need all this hair that is coming from somewhere? They create things which you don't need, and then they play with your psychology until you feel you need it. They make sure you can't do without it. So now you have ladies who can't walk out of the house unless they have makeup. And if they don't have one, they really get stressed out. It's all psychology, ladies and gentlemen. And we are falling for it. I mean, if you sit down and just think about the things we consume, it's ridiculous. And it's all because we do not understand the things I'm taking you through here. So out of that, they have made sure that we in Africa Our subconscious are always one or two. One or two. That's why I told you even toothpick, we have to import. Yet we have graduates in this country and no one is seeing it as a problem. Okay? So that's the second one. So this is also the trap that I fell for the moment I started working. I told you Standard Chartered approached me. I took a loan of 5 million. Why? Because I was programmed to focus on liabilities. So the moment I got money, because that's what I was exposed to from the teenage level, the first thing is, pap, I came bought a car here, and this car, I had to fuel it every day. When it spoils, it goes to the garage. I told you by the time I was finishing to pay that loan, that car was ilikuwa juu ya mawe. Had someone taught me the third program, I would have been a billionaire by today. And so let's go to the third one. So the third one, I'm going to use, let me use purple. Okay. So the third one, money comes in here. And the first thing that it does, it comes to purchase an asset. And specifically focusing on cash flowing asset. So once you purchase this cash flowing asset, what does this cash flowing asset do? It starts generating money for you, which then comes here. This one we call the cash flowing program 3. Ladies and gentlemen of Telepost, this is what Indians understand. Cash flowing program 3. This is what the Jews understand. Cash flowing program 3. This is what the Indians in our country understand. And that's why they are always surpassing us. They've understood this thing. That's why you find that the children in their businesses, they're always involving them in things to do with assets. We have been blinded to focus on education and at the same time spoil our kids. Ndio maana ukienda jioni kama hujapeleka tamtam, your child gets so angry with you, start feeling guilty. Tomorrow unanunua mbili ya jana na ya leo, thinking that that is love. You are spoiling your children. So we need to replicate how the real world works to them at a very young age, because they absorb these things so fast and easy. So as we're making the change for ourselves, we also want to onboard them so that they too start learning these things from a very young age. We want to make sure that that subconscious mind actually works from the word go. And I'm happy to inform you that by the time being your children close school, there's a mobile app I'm building, and basically it is structured around moving children's minds from either cash flowing program 1 or 2 to cash flowing program 3. It is designed integrating you as the parent and your children, and it will have some activities you'll be doing on a continuous basis. That way the child starts learning in a fun way to focus on assets, By the time they're reaching 15, it's all done. They won't be as damaged as many of us were. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the trick. So you need to understand those 5 programs, the 3 cash flowing programs, okay? So let's think now about the wisdom. I want you to relate to your history with money. I want you to think about from the moment that you started working. When you got your first loan, where did you place it? Which cash flowing program did you use? The moment you get bonuses, when you get paid, where does your money go? And this is where now the concept of what they call wants and needs come into practice. Needs are things you need for survival. Wants are things you don't need for survival. I walk into your wardrobe and you have 20 pairs of shoes and they're only 7 days a week. What are you doing with all those pairs of shoes? And where is that? Money in, money out. Ulilipwa. Ukienda I need another pair of shoes. I need another pair of this. Why do you need that? Cut it down. Have 4 pairs of shoes enough. The rest of the money, weka kwa assets. Okay? Why are you rushing to buy an iPhone of 100,000? Well, you can buy a Techno of 10,000 and it will serve the same thing. Buy the Techno of 10,000, place 90,000 into assets. Remember that diagram I told you. Before you sleep, I want you to write assets and liabilities and draw a line. Take time and write down. I am telling you, you're going to feel guilty. And it's okay to feel guilty. At the end of the day, tell yourself those 2 questions. Who am I? This is who I've been so far. So that guilt will come out of realizing who you have been so far. But here's the beauty. God tells us you are creators. Going forward, again, it's your decision, just like the past has been your decision. Now that you understand this thing, you make a conscious decision going forward. So going forward, I am going to put X amount of money into assets. And the moment you understand this thing, now savings become easy. You don't struggle to save because you have a very specific thing you're looking forward to. Pale mbele. You're just not saving for the sake of it. I have seen people who save money for a whole year. Anajinyima kabisa, anajinyima. Alafu ikifika December, anatoa yote mara moja hivi. Within 1 week, all that money is gone. Holiday somewhere, all that money is gone. Why were you saving? Ujibambe 1 week. That is not financial wisdom. Okay? So here is the secret I want to conclude with for today. And the idea is this. Please take note of this. Make yourself a promise going forward that any liability that I'm going to spend on, which is not a need. A need, remember, is something you need for survival. Chakula, you can't stay without food. Okay? Your children need to go to school, you have to pay school fees. You have to pay rent because you need housing. You have sufficient clothes, enough. So we're talking about once you finish up with the needs, this is what you do. You tell yourself, any other liability that comes my way, it will have to wait. All those other liabilities must be bought with money coming from a cash flowing asset. That's the secret. I'm repeating that statement again. Once you've exhausted the liabilities of needs, any other, make yourself that promise that any other liability that I'm going to purchase, that money has to come from a cash flowing asset. And this is the logic, members of Telepost. Let me give you that example of you want to buy an iPhone of 100,000. Don't save 100,000 to purchase that. No. In fact, tell yourself, let me buy a 5,000, 10,000 smartphone, and then the rest of the 90,000, I'll start saving here in a cash flowing asset. And whatever that asset is going to give me here, I'll start saving this money such that eventually when it gets to 90,000 or 100,000, I can now purchase this liability here. And the beauty about this thing is once you buy that liability, your cash flowing asset is still there producing money for you. So once you get to understand this, it becomes so easy to save. The focus now shifts to, in fact, the rule I tell people is before you purchase any liability, make sure you have 3 cash flowing assets already. Sorry, two cash flowing assets. Because if you have 2, then you can choose one of those ones to start saving towards a liability. Na hii cash flowing asset ya pili itakuwa inaingiza pesa tu kwa sako yako. So the moment you purchase that liability which you wanted, hii cash flow ya kwanza inarudi kujoin ya kwanza. So the 2 keeps bringing money into your sacco. Then you save towards another 2 cash flowing assets. Then you purchase another liability. And that's precisely what this app I am telling you about is designed for your children. Mtoto wako kabla anunue sweet, lazima atengeneze cash flowing asset. Before he buys this, that's I've designed it using psychology of the things I'm teaching you. So they won't even know what is going on with them. And that's why I told you by the age of 15, they'll be set for life. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, that will bring me to the end of my class today. I am open now to take any questions that you have, moving based on what I've taken you through. So in summary, please understand the importance of understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. Keep it simple. Make sure you understand the different types of assets. Once you understand that, come and understand this diagram here. For those of you who have studied finance or accounting, you'll all understand what we have in front of our skin is what we call the three financial statements. So the top one is the income statement. The below one is the balance sheet. And then the movement of money is what you call the cash flow statement. So again, being educated, you only apply these things to your workplace because you believe they work for companies. No, they also apply to our lives. And the moment we reflect these things in our life, that's the turning point. And that turning point, again, I repeat, it's not how educated you are. Usijidharau mali uko. God has blessed you enough to meet me. God blessed me enough to gain this knowledge from where I got them from. And that's what I'm told you, to me, it's really a passion of empowering people because I know there's so much that has been hidden from many of us. And we end up struggling a lot. Okay? So thank you again for this beautiful day. I'm now open to any questions that you might have. Madam Alice, over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for this great session that we've learned on assets and liabilities. And when I was looking at the charts, I can see some of us were very much shocked, especially when we are told that the houses that we own are liabilities. So at least we are able to learn something today. We really appreciate that. Yeah, like Mr. Andrew has said, it's the session for asking questions. We welcome also even comments. Karibuni sana. We can chat or you can unmute and talk. We appreciate our members for joining in large numbers today. We really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can see we are chatting.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening to you, Kimani.
Yeah, my name is Kimani Durungo. Thank you very much, Andrew. Sometimes you make me like a baby who was trying to walk, fell down, and is struggling to wake up and make the next steps. I really appreciate. You mentioned something about insanity. I read something in the old books, if you remember books called Reader's Digest, and it said insanity is inherited. We get it from our children. To me, it looked awkward, but when listening to you, it looks like what I'm seeing from my children is what they inherited from us, and especially matters of finance. So I really need to get back, either bring them back to this kind of openings so that they can appreciate the fact that even the kind of software that they have today in their head can be updated and they can have the good software running. Mary Ann, thank you very much. I think I am in the diaspora, sorry, with Mary Ann, and she keeps on popping me up that it is time to join Andrew's meeting. Thank you very much, Mary Ann. This is, I don't know whether to call it wisdom or call it education, but a combination of all that. So thank you very much, Mr. Ndegwa, and for giving me support to be able to make those steps when I rise and walk. Mine was not a question, it was just a comment. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank-
much,
thank-
Mr. Kimani. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
From
much, Bona
diaspora.
Kimani.
We really appreciate.
What I'd like just to add on top of what you've said, the fact that you're feeling what you've said, sometimes like a baby, that's beautiful, because it's your subconscious being, being shaken. You've been holding the wrong thoughts. So of course, it holding 95% of the entire mind, the 5% now is listening to me and it's digesting it, and you can resonate with what I'm saying. So it's sending the message to the subconscious that, hey, umekuwa ukindanganya huu muda wote. And that's why you feel like you're being shaken up. So that's a good starting. In fact, that's the way it's supposed to start. So the idea is to continue implementing what I teach you. Please don't let your children fall the victim of what we did. From the word onset, anzana now. And you're going to thank God in the near future. Thank you so much for your comment. I deeply appreciate that. The next one, there's someone who asked a question about Chama on the chart, where you're saying, is Chama an asset or a liability? The question I'm going to ask you is, the Chama where you are, does it bring money to you or does it remove? It's as simple as that. It's the movement. And the best way to go about that is to net off. Of course, Chama mnatoaga, but there's a time where you get. So when you get, does it net off to bring you positive? Okay. Then again, it depends also on the objective, your objective. Before you join a Chama, why did you join it? What was your goal? What were you trying to achieve? Most Chamas don't, last. Why? Because people with different mindsets come together, assuming they have one common goal. That's where the problem starts. So you join this Chama with an eye towards retirement, and me, I'm joining this Chama in a way to start educating my children in the next 1 year. So you are thinking long term, and me, I'm thinking short term. So most people just join for the sake of it. That's why I'm going to teach you something about the importance. When we come to investments, I am going to take you through certain questions that you need to ask yourself before you even put a single currency anywhere. Because once you answer those questions, it's going to quiet a lot of noise that can bring a lot of risk in terms of your money. So number one, it's because people get together and they have different ideas of what they want, different goals. Number two, again, we were brought up to compete, not to cooperate. So the moment the money starts becoming, we start fighting each other. Everyone wants to outshine each other. Unlike, our other nationals in this country, they understand the unification of pulling resources together. And Somalis have perfected it to brilliance. All these buildings you see in Nairobi City Center now be coming up. Wanashikana kabisa, wananunua as a group. Alafu pesa ikikuja, wanalipa hiyo loan, wengine wanapewa, wanaenda wanachukua. Me and you are busy still fighting each other here. The whole of this Nairobi is going to go. Tukiangalia hivi na macho. Trust me yo. So it depends again on what I said. The net is what is going to determine if your Chama is an asset or a liability. It's always, simply put, it's always the movement of money, the net of it. All right? Okay, over to you, Alice, again.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. I can see our chairman is online and is raising his hand. Karibu sana, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you so much, Bwana Kibe, the facilitator. Trust you're doing well. Mine is just an observation. Hope you're getting me, Mr. Kibe and Alice.
Yes.
Yes, Chairman.
Hello. You're
yes,
getting
you're
me.
very audible.
I just want to appreciate. I just want to appreciate the session. We are doing well. So far, so good. I just want to appreciate all the participants. So far, we are doing pretty well. Much more so, I want to appreciate Bwana Ndurungo, all the way from US, and former Chinese Provincial Committee, Madam Marianne Chege. We really appreciate your support in terms of facilitating, in terms of giving a contribution on this program that's ongoing. We really appreciate your support. And Mr. Kibe, thank you so much. Keep the firefighting. Telepost Sacco is keeping the firefighting. And out of this session, I'm sure at the end of the session, we'll be able to get some good results and be able to push our Sacco to another step. We've come a long way. And I want to assure all the members on board that Telepost Sacco is doing pretty well. And in the very near future, will be extremely well going forward. Thank you so much, Bwana Kibe, the facilitator, the Alice, our chair, our lead, our marketing manager, and of course our CEO, Madam Marianne Dekay. Just as an observation, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Chairman. We also appreciate for your support this far and also for enabling us have this session. And we really appreciate, especially our diaspora members, we really appreciate, keep on inviting more members to join us. And even as we continue, I'm seeing members commenting, they're really appreciating. Some have asked their children to join in. We really appreciate that is the way to go. And also I just wanted to remind you that we are also organizing a session for our children that is coming soon, probably during the holidays of April. So keep tuning in so that you can be able to get the details on how to register. And even as we continue, our next session, we'll be having this session every Wednesday. So get it to you that it will always be every Wednesday. The next one, every Wednesday after 2 weeks. The next one is on 21st of February. So let's spread the word that this session is there. You can imagine how much we can gain. Yeah, I don't know if we have anyone else with, some members are asking where they can get our content. It's on our YouTube page. Just type Telepost on YouTube, you'll find us. Also subscribe for more updates. And also for the soft copy, we'll be able to share at the end of all sessions. Don't worry, we'll be able to get all the notes afterwards, but most of the things are being spoken here. So keep tuning in because you'll be able to get more. The explanations, you'll miss out a lot. So yeah, someone also is asking about the first session. Kindly get it on our YouTube page. You'll be able to listen to everything. So I really want to, this far, I want to appreciate our board members who've joined in. Of course, also our CEO, Marianne, we really appreciate you. And also all the members, we really appreciate for your time joining in. We really appreciate so much. Keep spreading the word. And I think now we will be able to end our session because I can't see anyone asking questions. We really appreciate.
Excuse me. Hi,
yes.
How are you, all of you?
Hi to you, Mr. Kimata.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a comment that Mr. Kibe, thank you so much. You've really made us to look like, I don't want to call ourselves fools because nothing that you said that actually we've been doing it the correct way. My question is, I don't know at what age one can be able to change the narrative because the things you have actually touched involves even our own families, whereby you find that somebody, let's say like your brother or your sister has something that you don't have and you feel that jealousy and you start asking yourself how you can get that thing instead of supporting that person. To change that narrative in our lives, it could be a problem, I would say that. And also the way we see things. My question is, now that some of us are about 50 years, can you change that narrative and make any difference in your life? Finally, I am also in diaspora, I'm in Canada, and I really would want to thank Marianne Chege for having invited me. In fact, she has been bugging me Daniel, have you gotten into the topics that we are sharing on the online? And today I said I'm not even going to work. I have to listen to what she has been telling me to do. And today I purpose to stay with my boss, and we were about 5 of us. Let me tell you, pia wazungu wameniambia, hey, guys from Kenya, you have people who are running it. People have, because they are saying there's also going to change their mindset. It's not only Kenyans. I think this thing is happening to each and everyone. And so, Kibe, you're not just talking to Kenyans, you're talking to many other people that you don't know. And so we really want to thank you, the organizers of that, the topics and bringing it on live. I think that's the way to go. And it's my prayer is that we change the mindset as you have been told. For me, I think it's a 360, turn to ensure that everything now goes the way it's supposed to be. Thank you so much. May the Lord bless you. In our place, it's about 10 in the morning, and it's good that the topics have ended in good time, that we're able to go back, maybe probably to our workplace. Thank you so much, and may the Lord bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimata, for that sacrifice. We really appreciate our coordinator, Madam Marianne from Diaspora. We really, really appreciate you for that. Mr.
Okay.
Andrew, kindly.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Kimata. First and foremost, let me inform you that I'll be starting an online class for Canada, and mainly I'll be targeting Kenyans, but they can bring along all other. I know this is something that spreads across the entire world. It's just not us Kenyans or Africans who have been blinded with this truth. Like even for me, it took me years to actually, pinpoint things and bring things together, and a lot of studies, and I have a very open mind. So a lot of things that don't make sense to me, I don't just accept them as a formality of doing things. And I believe this is how God was able to bring all this knowledge that I have. And so I felt a sense of responsibility of empowering as many people as I can. So thank you so much also for your compliments. Now, with regards to the mindset, now that today is the first one you've actually attended, behind there, I started by addressing certain things. And one of the things I'll tell you is I focus so much on the mind, and I told people, your mind does not know your age. It only knows one thing. Its only function is one. It's like a magnet. Ukiweka misumari kando ya magnet, inavuta. That's the function of your mind. Whatever you store there is what it's going to attract. So the issue is to always focus on what is inside there. Okay? So again, they told us this narrative of life. You are born, you go to primary, nursery, you go to primary, you go to high school, you go to university, you work, and then you retire. So after retirement, they made us feel there's nothing else to do. Now we just go and rest. What are you retiring from? So the narrative they put into your subconscious mind, when you think critically about it, is retire from something. And I'm saying when you tell your mind retire from, that's the kind of questions I get from now people. Now I'm 50, it's almost late. What do you mean it's late? You're still breathing. You're saying you're above 50. How old is Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett is 90 or 95 plus, and he's still the chairman of the best investment company in the world. Now you at 50, how many years do you have to go to reach where he is? It's a mindset. It's you telling yourself it's late. Your mind doesn't know that. Remember, it only knows to attract what you store inside. So if you're telling your mind it's late, that's what you're going to attract in your life. So we talked about the kind of self-talk that we have with ourselves, having realized that we are creators. And the way we create, it starts with a thought, the thoughts that we hold. So we want to change the narratives they've been pushing deep inside our subconscious. So don't say, I am retiring from something. Change it to, I will retire into something. Feel the difference. I'm not going to retire from something. I'll be retiring into something. So you're jumping ship. Just because the government said you retire at 60 or 55 does not mean that's the end of your life. Like I said, you are born alone, you'll exit alone. In between, it should be about you. But if you do not know and understand yourself, other people will come and corrupt your mind. So take up that responsibility and say, I'm young. Your mind is going to attract youngness. If you say you're old, that's what you're going to attract. It doesn't know right or wrong, it only knows to attract. So in this app I'm building, they even quotes we're telling students from a very young age, don't say I can't. What do you mean you can't? Say, how can I? Because when you say I can't, in your mind it shuts. Yo maneno imeishia hapo. But when you say, how can I? You're challenging your mind to come up with solution. It will start going to work to look for those solutions. So those kind of self-talk that we're having is what is so key. And so there's this quote I gave the first and the second session where I told them, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. It is all about the mindset. And please, Mr. Daniel, understand, the mind does not know how old you are. It only knows one thing, the function that God placed it there to do, and that is to create life as you see it. So if you choose to see negativity across this world, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to create in your world. But if you choose to see positivity, that's exactly what's going. The choice is always yours. So like I said, those two questions, who am I? So far, where I've come from, who am I? Now that you feel like I've made whatever you're feeling, that's beautiful, because now you're realizing you've been living a default through programs which were instilled in you by other people who you're not aware of since you're a boy. But now you're waking your conscience to live your life based on who you want to be. That's why I call it the conscious creation. You're creating now your future going forward consciously. You're aware, you're monitoring the thoughts that you hold. And that's the secret. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much for that question. Over to you, Alice.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Andrew, for that elaboration. I think now we are good to go. Until next time, we really appreciate you all and have a blessed night.
Thank you.